there is a real axis of evil, a new axis of evil or a real axis of evil, because the other one was a phony coming from George Bush the younger and his speechwriter David Frum, whom I debated last year, I guess it was. The new axis of evil: Qatar, Turkey, ISIS, the Muslim Brotherhood, the infamous Ikhwan, and then people like John McCain, John Kerry, and who knows what generals in the Pentagon who don't want to attack ISIS. And I would point out a lot of people on Fox News with their defeatist propaganda are essentially signaling that they're not interested in a war against ISIS. They want a war against Putin or a war against Assad. So what's been happening? There is progress on the ground. Let's just go through the main points quickly. Remember that Dempsey had signaled that he was a defeatist about a week ago, saying, well, the ISIS have been driven out of most of Kobane, but it may be only temporary. It may not be possible to save Kobane. ISIS may conquer the city eventually, at which point I said, fire him, fire Dempsey. We cannot have defeatists in office, right? That's worse than George McClellan 150 years ago. Right now, remember, October 1864 was Lincoln against McClellan, McClellan the defeatist. And the same goes for Kerry. Now, the basic story around Kobane: more bombing as a result of agitation from a number of sources, including this one. ISIS clobbered, ISIS strained, ISIS sending raw recruits into action, pulling in cannon fodder from all sorts of places. This stuff takes a real toll. ISIS then retreating from Kobane. The United States finally accepting to work with the Syrian Kurds, share intelligence, and use their spotters to call in airstrikes even within the city of Kobane. That was elementary, should have been done a long time before, but they said, oh, well, we haven't vetted them. Well, vet this, as some have said. The second aspect of that is then U.S. airdrops of equipment, of weapons, of ammunition, of medical supplies and other necessary goods to the Syrian Kurds. This is the YPG, claim is supposedly an arm of the PKK. We'll be skeptical from Missouri on that one. Then a couple of the airdrops go astray. And here's where you see the defeatists, right? As soon as two of these parachuted bundles don't go exactly where they were supposed to, the defeatist chorus, the Hannitys and others come out and say, this proves that the entire thing is a failure. That was the Democratic Party 150 years ago. The war is a failure. Lincoln is a tyrant. We're all bankrupt. Our living standard is being eroded. It was actually going up. But you get the idea. Defeatism. And when you see that kind of carping defeatist criticism, you know you're dealing with somebody who's soft on terrorism and probably soft on fascism as well. So a couple of bundles go into the hands of ISIS. It won't save them, but it's really needed on the other side. Then the Turkish President Erdogan comes out and impudently, insulting the United States, says it's wrong to drop equipment to those Syrian Kurds. Well, that's just too much. Who the hell does he think he is? The colossal nerve, the chutzpah, the figatacho of Erdogan. This guy needs to be sent to, what's that island? Principe, I believe, in the Sea of Marmara. Maybe he needs a long vacation there in the Trotsky holding cell. So Erdogan bad-mouthing the U.S., a very bad idea. And then Erdogan forced to fold a little bit. He says, okay, I'm going to let Iraqi Kurds from northern Iraq transit through Turkey, and we're going to let them out at Kobane, and they're going to drive the ISIS fighters away. And even the defeatists in the U.S. military, the defeatist, soft on terrorism generals who are eager to use ISIS as a secret army, on Thursday of this week said, an unnamed CENTCOM source says, we think the Kurds are going to hold. We think the Kurds can hold the city. Well, thanks for nothing, guys. And we'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. So ISIS has carried out a third gas attack, and the president of Chechnya, Kadyrov, says Baghdadi, that means Caliph Ibrahim, must confess he's a CIA agent heading up a devilish, diabolical organization whose goal is money, more Rolex watches, no doubt. So that seems to be evolving in a positive way. By the way, we've got the Blackwater Four convicted, right, going back to the war crimes of Iraq. And remember, Bill O'Reilly on Fox News has been calling for the creation of an international mercenary army to go and defeat terrorism. Well, that's what Blackwater was, exactly, to a T. And Eric Prince had been the head of the whole thing at the time, had been saying, yes, that's what we need. But then, of course, the problem is that it was tried before, and it led to military defeat and to war crimes. So that is the last word on O'Reilly's proposal for mercenaries. If you get a merc, the merc will run amok. And remember Machiavelli, mercenaries are useless and dangerous because they will betray you at the key moment.